Many years have passed since this story took place. Its 18-year-old hero has reached a respectable age, but he has not been able to erase the events of that distant winter day from his memory. Moreover, he feels it is his duty to tell anyone who is willing to listen about what happened, as that day became a turning point not only in his life. Barely reaching adulthood, a young man named Nikolai decided to become independent, to earn a living for himself and to take care of his parents, who could use the help. Times were tough in his hometown, and one could only expect the most modest income, just enough for bread, but he would have liked some butter as well. Nikolai consulted with friends who were facing the same problems, and they decided to try their luck together in the north. In youth, it is easy to leave everything behind and set off in search of a better life. The hard work did not scare the guys. They got tired, but managed well enough. One day, after waiting for the weekend, they decided to go hunting. In the northern forests, there were all sorts of game, from hares to bears. Moreover, Nikolai's friends were not novices in hunting, so after a couple of hours, their catch was full, and the company turned back. Halfway, the weather suddenly turned bad. An icy wind drove in dark clouds, and a fierce snowstorm began to rage. The snow fell so thickly that it was impossible to see anything even 2 meters away. Fortunately, the friends were well oriented in the area, and although slowly, they could continue on their way. Nikolai tried not to fall behind, following them closely. The snowdrifts grew, and his legs sank deeper. At one point, he felt that he could not pull out his right leg. It was stuck. In trying to free himself from the snowy trap, he lost sight of his companions and could not call out to them. The blizzard ruled around him, and in this powerful storm, sounds and voices dissolved without a trace. He realized that calling for help was useless. Nikolai tried again to get out, but all his efforts were in vain. Exhausted, he fell into the snow and soon felt the cold in every cell of his body. The prospect of freezing to death became more real. Whether despair appeared is hard to say. He simply lay there, sometimes opening his eyes, unable to move. Detached thoughts came to him that this was how his life would end, and there was nothing he could do about it. Suddenly, he thought he noticed some movement nearby, and unrestrained joy filled him. Had his friends finally discovered his disappearance and come back? But before he could call out, he clearly saw that it was not people, but a pack of wolves. The wolves stopped at a distance and just watched, showing no intention of attacking. Nikolai suddenly found the strength to make desperate attempts to free his leg from the snow, but the cold had taken its toll, and his body hardly obeyed him. He also failed to scare the wolves away with his cries. They did not even move from their place. Several tense moments passed, and the pack began to slowly approach. He thought the hour of his demise had come. The young man covered his head with his hands, expecting to be torn apart, but the incredible happened. One by one, the wolves began to lie down on him, and when he met their gaze, he saw neither malice nor hostility in their eyes. Within a few minutes, Nikolai began to warm up and gratefully realized that the predators were simply helping him survive in this icy storm. The blizzard subsided, but not for a while. Only after that did the wolves rise and step back from the man they had saved. One of them quickly began to dig through the snow around his trapped leg. After a few minutes, Nikolai saw that it had gotten stuck between the roots of a tree, and he was finally able to free himself from the trap. Climbing out of the snowdrift, he saw that the wolves were backing away as if inviting him to follow them. Having no idea where to go, he had no choice but to trust his gray saviors. Indeed, after a few hours, the wolves led him out of the forest to a road. There, he caught a ride and made it to his workplace. His astonished friends, who had been unable to find him and had already gathered a search party, listened to his story and could not believe their ears. Half a century later, Nikolai still feels anxious, repeating his story 1,000 times. That day, he decided that he would never hunt again for 2 reasons. He did not want to get into any trouble again, and above all, he could no longer raise his hand against wild animals, as the representatives of that world had saved his life. From this story, children have grown up, and now grandchildren are being raised. Among the numerous relatives, there have long been no hunters. The miraculous rescue of one of them turned something inside, and it became somehow shameful to kill animals capable of showing true kindness. Recently, the man picked up an old sick dog in the forest, evidently abandoned by someone who wanted to get rid of an extra mouth to feed. The foundling was given the name Wolf and is very loyal to his new owner. who believes that caring for the unfortunate dog is just a small part of the debt owed to the world of animals. Perhaps for people, this debt is even unpayable.